なんだ、何も見えない。目をやられたのか。足が。
Hey guys, what's happening? Niyat here with Film Comics Explained, and by popular demand, today we're going to explore the history of the Titans. I'm issuing a spoiler alert here, as we'll be navigating through significant plot points in this series, so if you're not up to date with the manga or anime, well, you've been warned. But for all my Paradise Island scouts keen to move forward, strap on your ODM gear, sharpen your blades, and keep your wits about you, because we're heading over the walls into Titan territory. Much like the rest of the world, I've been pretty amazed by the Attack on Titan anime. The violent and grotesque nature of the Titans, the steampunk aesthetic of the ODM gear used to fight them, and the larger-than-life energy pulsating from the screen was enough to spark my curiosity. But it's been the world-building, intelligent storytelling, dynamic characters, and epic soundtrack that has kept my attention. Written and illustrated by Hajime Isayama, Attack on Titan is a fantasy series set in a fictional world where humankind has been forced to live within territories surrounded by 3 enormous concentric walls to protect them from the gigantic man-eating humanoids referred to as Titans. The people inside the walls, known as Eldians, are taught to believe that the Titans first appeared 107 years ago and had rapidly exterminated the rest of humanity. But in reality, there were still other civilizations beyond the walls, and the Titans were actually transformed humans known as the subjects of Ymir that had existed for nearly 2,000 years. Throughout the series, these Titans appear in a number of forms, including the mindless pure Titans that were the most common type, the abnormals, which were just as mindless but showcased limited intelligence and unpredictable behavior, and of course the 9 intelligent Titans that a handful of people could willingly transform into, though the existence of these Titans remains hidden from most Eldians until the emergence of the Colossus Titan, which is the catalyst for the events of the series. Seen through the perspective of our protagonist Eren Yeager and his best friends Mikasa Ackerman and Armin Arlet, whose worlds are turned upside down with the destruction of Wall Maria, the outermost wall protecting their town of Shiganshina. This inciting incident triggers our heroes to join the Survey Corps branch of the local military and battle the creatures that killed their families and friends. From a quick glance, Attack on Titan may seem like a pro-militaristic monster hunting show, lacking in substance, that was loosely based on the Norse mythology of the Jotnar and their progenitor Ymir, but beyond the surface is a complex, multi-layered tale about oppression and indentured servitude, the fallible nature of humankind, the corrupting power of power itself, and the senseless and never-ending cycle of death and revenge that comes from war. The Titans are introduced to us as the primary antagonists of Season 1, but as the series unfolds, we realize that the true antagonist was conflict, and that the Titans were as much a victim to it as the people they consumed. Around 2,000 years ago, there lived a woman called Ymir, whose village was attacked and enslaved by the Eldians, a race of conquerors whose ambition for supreme power was matched only by their cruelty. After arriving at the village, the tribe's leader, King Fritz, ordered his men to cut out the tongues of the locals to prevent any coordinated acts of disobedience and destroy the will of his new subjects. This act of subjugation plunged the village into a dark existence of perpetual servitude and hopelessness, a recurring theme in the series. One day, after a pig was released from its pen, Fritz called upon his slaves to reveal the culprit responsible for the animal's escape, and the villagers all pointed to Ymir, who was then hunted by the Eldian soldiers and their dogs. Wounded and desperate to survive, Ymir took shelter in a nearby tree, but as she stepped into a gap to hide from the soldiers, she slipped and fell into an underground body of water. There, Ymir came into contact with a mysterious spine-like creature, which attached itself to her back and triggered the first Titan transformation, turning the young woman into the founding Titan. With her newfound power, Ymir returned to serve Fritz and used her Titan to cultivate the land, build bridges, and amass enough wealth for the Eldians to begin turning their sights on conquering the rest of the world. She then used her unique Titan scream to transform many of the Eldians into pure Titans, mindless monstrosities powered by the sun that were under her control. While some of the Titans looked a bit like the human beings they once were, their transformation came with a rapid increase in size and various physical deformities, including the absences of a digestive tract and reproductive organs. Under the command of Fritz, Ymir destroyed the forces of Eldir's rival, Mali. Rewarding Ymir for her loyalty, King Fritz took her as his wife, and together, the two had 3 beautiful daughters named Maria, Rose, and Sheena. After serving the king for 13 years, Ymir died while thwarting an assassination attempt on his life, and found herself inside a mysterious magical land known as the Coordinate, where the link she had with her subjects, known as the Path, was located. From here, Ymir would continue to serve her descendants whenever the power of the founding Titan was invoked. Wanting to preserve the power of the Titan, King Fritz forced his daughters to eat Ymir's corpse, a tradition that would continue for millennia. Mario, Rose and Sheena were then commanded to reproduce and cannibalize each other, so that Ymir's blood and the power of the founding Titan would remain within the Eldian royal family. Ymir's power eventually split and created 8 other unique Titans, which along with her founding Titan made up the power of the 9 Titans, enabling 9 descendants of Ymir to become Titan shifters that could transform into intelligent Titans with unique abilities at will. These 9 included the founding Titan, the Attack, the Colossus, the Armored, the Female, the Beast, the Jaw, the Cart, and the Warhammer Titan. Because Ymir only lived for 13 years after receiving the power of the founding Titan, the same time limit was passed on to anyone who inherited the ability of the 9 Titans. This is in stark contrast to the mindless pure Titans, who had no cap on their lifespans and could potentially live forever as giant cannibals. While any Eldian descendant known as a subject of Ymir could transform into one of the 9 Titans, only a descendant of royal lineage could make full use of the founding Titan to transform Eldians into mindless pure Titans and control them. In addition to this, under the control of royalty, the founding Titan could revert Titans back to their human form, as well as manipulate the memory of all Eldians except for a few noble houses. Fritz kept the founding Titan in the royal family and allowed the 8 other Titans to be held in the noble houses that were immune to his power to manipulate their memories. If a person with the power of the 9 Titans died, their power was immediately transferred to a random subject of Ymir. However, to circumnavigate this and ensure that the noble oligarchs retained control of the Titans, when a person approached the end of their 13 years as one of the 9 Titans, they would enable a member of their family to cannibalize them and take their power. It's also important to note that the only way for a mindless, pure Titan to return to human form was for them to consume a person that had the power of the 9 Titans, bar the assistance of a member from the royal family with the power of the founding Titan. Using the power of the 9 intelligent Titans and their hordes of mindless, pure Titans, the Eldians conquered the world and established the Eldian Empire as the ruling nation of the mainland continent. After 17 centuries of global domination, the Eldian Empire would eventually be destroyed from within by Karl Fritz, the 145th king to inherit the throne. Deeply troubled by the savage actions of his ancestors, Karl conspired with the Tibber family of Mali to send his people on a path towards self-destruction, as retribution for the atrocities committed by the Empire throughout history. As was planned, a fictional hero named Helos was created as a symbol for the Marleyan resistance, and the seeds sowed by Fritz would manifest into discontent among the noble houses of Eldia, who fought each other for control over the 8 Titans, and what would be known as the Great Titan War. This catastrophic civil war weakened the Eldian Empire and allowed the oppressed Marleyan people to rise up and steal the power of 7 of the Titans, dramatically turning the tide and allowing Mali to reclaim nearly all the territory that once belonged to Eldia. To ensure the safety of what remained of his people, Fritz relocated them to Paradise Island, where he used the founding Titan to create millions of Colossus Titans that would serve as the foundations of the 3 walls, Maria, Rose, and Sheena, named after the 3 daughters of Ymir. To secure peace for Eldia, Fritz gave Mali an ultimatum they could not refuse. Never make a move against the remnants of Eldia, or else the founding Titan would be used to unleash the millions of Colossus Titans that made up the 3 walls to eradicate Mali in its entirety. Upon closing the gates, Fritz announced to his relatives that chose to remain abroad that a pact had been made with the founding Titan. All of his descendants that tried to wield the founding Titan to restore Eldia to its former glory would be overcome by his will. What Fritz overlooked was the possibility that a subject of Ymir could steal the power of the founding Titan and override the will of Fritz to command other Titans to do their bidding under exceptional circumstances. Once his people had been gathered within the walls, King Fritz then used the founding Titan to erase the memories of the outside world from most of the Eldian population. The masses were then fed the lie that they were the last remnants of humanity, in a world overrun by man-eating Titans, ensuring their subservience to the status quo. Unfortunately for the Eldians that remained on the mainland, all except for a handful of nobles that assisted Mali during the transition of power were cruelly persecuted for the sins of their fathers and forced to live within internment camps. The Marleyans would treat their former masters with resentment and extreme hostility, much in the same way the Eldians had ruthlessly oppressed them in the past, ensuring the cycle of violence, servitude, and revenge continued. While the founding Titan had the power to transform subjects of Ymir into Titans, the Marleyans used their supply of 7 Titan shifters and their advanced sciences to create a Titan serum that could exploit the curse of Ymir and replicate her power. Sadly, Eldians living under the rule of Marley were subjected to the cruel punishment of being injected with this serum and forced to walk the earth for eternity as pure Titans, giants that were conscious but unable to control their urge to consume people. Though Marley planned on leaving the people of Paradise Island to live in fear of the thousands of pure Titans outside their walls, a scarcity of resources for the technologically advanced civilization leads to them turning their sights on Eldia, which was located above a rich source of natural resources. Because the walls of Eldia were still guarded by millions of Colossus Titans that could be awakened and controlled by the founding Titan to repel enemy attacks, Marley devises the Paradise Island Operation, a secret infiltration mission to locate and steal the founding Titan. To this end, Marley, which had control of 7 out of the 9 Titans, passed the power of the Colossus, the Armored, the Female, and the Jaw Titans onto 4 of its citizens, Bertolt, Rainer, Annie, and Marcel, all of whom were indoctrinated and trained from a young age to lay siege to Eldia and sneak in as spies that would eventually destroy the city from within. And in the year 845, Bertolt uses his Colossus Titan to kick a hole in Wall Maria, enabling the pure Titans outside to enter and begin destroying the Shiganshina district. At the same time, he and his comrades joined the exodus to Wall Rose, disguised as displaced children. This effectively kickstarts both the anime and manga, with the 4 spies and our protagonists, Eren, Mikasa, and Armin, all joining the training corps, and eventually uncovering the truth about the history of the Titans. We also discovered that not only did our hero Eren inherit the founding and attack Titans from his father Grisha, a subject of Ymir from Marley who was persecuted since childhood and punished for conspiring against the government, but that the person that turned him in was Eren's stepbrother Zeke, who, like the other spies, was indoctrinated and given control over the Beast Titan, which combined with his royal blood gave him similar powers of Titan control as the founding Titan, pushing Eren and Zeke into conflict with one another to safeguard the future of their respective factions. What's sad is that families and friends are pitted against each other like disposable pawns on the chessboard by their respective sides, in a war that has been raging for thousands of years. The soldiers of Eldia, the warriors of Marley, and the Titans, much like their progenitor Ymir, are all both weapons and victims forced to serve self-serving masters in a life of endless bondage, pain, and death. Considering that the founding Titan technically still had the power to transform the subjects of Ymir from human to Titan and back from Titan to human, and given the overarching themes of war, oppression, and servitude, I think the final pages of the manga and the last season of the anime will see the founding Titan being used to free the Titans from their horrific mind prison and end the cycle of violence between Marley and Eldia. Regardless of how it ends, I'm sure we'll be talking about the pop culture sensation for years to come. I really want to do a deep dive on each of the Titans over the next few months, and I'm thinking of dropping a number of shorter videos going through them, in addition to our weekly end of week video, so please let me know whether that's something you guys would like to see. With that being said, I'm happy to announce that Overlord dominated our poll for the next video, so we'll be heading into Nazi zombie territory next week. Well, that's all for today, folks. A huge thanks to everyone who requested we dive into Attack on Titan. Don't forget to hit subscribe and click the notification icon to stay up to date on all my content. And if there's anything else you'd like to request, please don't hesitate to ask. As always, it's been a pleasure. Niyat here with Film and Comics Explained. Thanks for stopping by.
勝負は今ここで決める。エルトルト